What is going on, sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of Pez's Picks. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Pez, the man with the picks. What's up, Pez? How's it going?
Jeff, July morning coffee with Wimbledon. We're kicking ourselves a little bit. We didn't place that much action on this tournament thus far. Probably saved us some money. Been a lot of upset, especially on the women's side. Big match today. We're taping on Wednesday. We got Sinner, Shelton. Almost pulled the trigger yesterday, getting some good return on Shelton. Sinner claiming to have an elbow injury after almost getting smoked out of the tournament. And then we had an injury. Guy's up 2 sets on him and quits. I don't know. I'm smelling a ruse, though, Jeff. I married an Italian, as you know. Those Italians are shifty. Maybe we're on to something. Maybe this guy was pumping his odds up, and it's going to lead us into our conversation. Integrity in sports gambling and big questions right now, Jeff. Big questions.
I have not been following Wimbledon. Is Djokovic out?
Joker is still in it, looking strong. Now, Jeff, I don't know if I should bring this up since we bet him up. Always been allegations, the Joker. How does this guy get stronger? His velocity picks up in the fifth set. He looks quicker, even at 38 years old. He's out of the tournament, his last match, right? He's done. He runs to his box. He gets his special drink. The guy wins like 13 out of 14 points. He's down 4-1 in the fourth. He wins 14 out of 15 points, I think it was, to walk off. I don't know, Jeff. I don't know. Andy, I can't think of his name, the British guy, but he said Nadal, he said Joker. These guys do things health-wise that you can't do. So I don't know. Having said that, I hope he's on it, Jeff. We got money on him. Plus 700. His odds are down to plus 300.
That's what I say.
I love him. Sinner not looking good. Alcaraz, he'd meet him in the final, I believe, or the semi, but we need him to win today too. I don't have any action for him. The odds have been crazy. To bet against a favorite has been nuts. But we got Taylor Fritz, American hopeful, big server, and Shelton, another big server. Maybe we get an American in the final. That'd be nice. We haven't had an American major winner, I think, since Andy Roddick in 2003 won the U.S. Open. So pretty sad state of affairs.
Jeez. Yeah, it's almost like U.S. soccer. I heard you on Coach Kevin Smith's podcast talking about that.
Jeff, I decided to take it easy on the United States, and I don't want us losing fans, Jeff. If you bet against America, even if you win, people hate you. But we were correct. We were correct. That American team, garbage. The best players didn't even show up. I mean, what are we doing here? What is this? No pride in American soccer from our own players. When your best players don't show up, And then we've got a new coach. I don't have much respect for the system of American youth soccer. It's turned into a pay-to-play system. It benefits people that have more money to get on these teams that travel. Defensively, we are one of the worst teams. We're giving up goals to Guatemala, Jeff. I don't even know the population of Guatemala. It's probably not much more than, I don't know, Cape May County, New Jersey. But at the end of the day, we do not compete with the majors in soccer. And I don't know, maybe – FFSN can get us involved here, Jeff, like the PGA. We need to get some real thinkers involved. You watch that Hope Solo special on Netflix about American Soccer Federation, a crooked organization. Now, I'm not defending Hope Solo. She's a little bit crazy, but did some horrible things to that women's team and her, and I think we need a whole overhaul, Jeff. It's a whole other podcast, too.
All right, well, that is a whole other podcast, but unfortunately at this time of year when football's not around and there's not a lot of stuff to talk about, we're going to touch on our baseball plays here in a second. A lot of times what circulates the gambling world is scandal. And we talked about some of this last week with poker where, you get the flop that they throw down 4 cards instead of 3 and you're sitting there holding pocket aces. You know, what the hell's going on? And this has happened. And I saw another situation like this happen that was caught on film. But we want to talk about a baseball scandal. Luis Ortiz, pitcher of the Cleveland Guardians, is in some hot water. I'll let you lay out the situation, Pez, for those that might not know.
You know, a pretty important pitcher for Cleveland, goes in 4-9 record, 4.3 ERA, 96 strikeouts, 1.3 whip. So we're not talking about some slouch here, Jeff. I believe a foreign-born guy. I believe a Dominican guy. I'm not positive on that, but he in a game within the last couple weeks, Jeff. This is ridiculous. As a former underground professional gambler, you can bet on individual pitches. So there must have been a grotesque amount of action on 2 pitches he's being investigated on 2 sliders that apparently were so out of the zone, it made no sense. And the amount of action for them to be balls has caused this guy possibly to be thrown out of Major League Baseball. This is a huge problem, Jeff. You cannot bet on individual pitches. If I had a best friend in baseball, I'd be like, dude, I need like an extra $1,000. But like, God, I'll throw a ball, second pitch, inning 3. You're not going to catch me on $1,000. Now, my guess is there was tens of thousands, if not more, money on these pitches. Algorithm lights up. They immediately flagged it. And this guy, could be suspended for life. I wonder how often this goes on, right? And then you get into relievers, you get into closers, and one pitch, even if there's action in the 9th inning, even if there's a lot of action, might not be enough to flag you. 2, they're going to flag you. Jeff, I'm going to blame our early season woes in baseball on this stuff. I'm guessing they're all in on it, Jeff. The whole thing's rigged. We talked about off camera. Baseball, it's a cheater sport. It's kind of like a wink and a nod.
Yeah.
You can put some Vaseline on the ball, pine tar, cork the bat, these stupid torpedo bats. The integrity of wagering on baseball has got to be in question. And I think part of that comes into when you're playing so many games, right? You're playing so many games. You figure I'm going to get away with it. Football, I don't think we're ever going to see this. I just don't. There's no guaranteed money. These guys are scrutinized every year. Someone's trying to take your job, whether you're CeeDee Lamb or the 5th string linebacker. That they got to perform in baseball. You can kind of lollygag around like in Bull Durham. You can lollygag half your career, and I don't know. Are there connections to organized crime? When we talk about guys coming from third world countries, and Americans too, Jeff, we're notorious for being degenerates, but third world countries, you're going to have a lot of connections to crime and maybe the debt, maybe your family being held high. I don't know, Jeff. I'm kind of throwing out everything at the wall here to explain why would this guy, who I'm guessing is making millions a year, I've got to look up his salary, but he's got to be making millions of dollars a year. I mean, he's 26 years old, veteran baseball player. I'm guessing, 5 to 10 mil a year? Why would he do this, right? So, we saw it with Beasley in the NBA, another guy who's made $60 million, can't even pay his rent, might have, fudged some numbers in his prop plays. These prop plays, Jeff, this is why we don't bet them. This is why we don't bet parlays. You're better off betting an individual game. Now, did Ortiz's actions change the game? I don't think so, but it does question the integrity of baseball betting.
Well, and like we said before we hit record, that baseball has always been a cheater sport. I mean, you could go all the way back to Shoeless Joe Jackson and the White Sox scandal. You could talk about Pete Roses as the most famous, but you could talk about the steroid era. I brought up Phil Niekro, who was the famous pitcher who the umpire said, "Can you please empty your pockets?" And a nail file falls out of his back pocket because he was filing down the
He didn't even know it was there, Jeff.
To get
it was
a
like
grip.
a shock to him. Went
Yeah,
flying.
right. Oh my God! Someone put a file in my back pocket when I wasn't looking. So baseball's always been a cheater sport per se. But let me ask you this: to me, Luis Ortiz, which the plays were he's going to throw a ball in the first pitch of the 3rd inning or something along those lines. I don't blame, if Ortiz is into some stuff, whether he's lost a lot of his money due to bad investments and he's using some other people to try to leverage getting more money. I don't know. It could be tied to the Dominican. Who the hell knows? We might know at some point. Doesn't this scream, though, that the sports books are getting out of control? That, my gosh, why are you able to put a play in for the first pitch in the 3rd inning to be a ball or a strike? It's insane. Pez, when you were taking bets, you would never take. If I walked up to you and said, "Hey, Cleveland Guardians game, Thursday night, I want the first pitch of the 3rd inning, I'm betting a ball. What are the odds?" You would have looked at me and said,
"We would have hung up on you." That would have been a sign that there's some sort of hate on you. You're involved in some sort of sting.
Exactly.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Just like you're not getting plus 4,000 on John Rahm. I think we talked about the U.S. Open. I would have hung up on you on that. No, plus 4,000. You're out of your mind. Live betting, and we're using this isn't a human adjusted line setting or spread setting system. It's AI. So live betting is based on a computer adjusting the odds and what are the odds it's going to throw a pitch. If you have HBO Max, whatever the hell we're calling it this week, they put kind of live betting numbers on the screen. They tell you the likelihood of the next pitch. They tell you the likelihood of the next hitter. Probably an advantage if you're a live gambling bettor. I find it shockingly disturbing to the gambling world that you can do this. I don't know what they're obviously making money on it, right? I mean, for every one Luis Ortiz, they're probably making $1 million on every sucker bet and every pitch. When we talk about, let's get to the real point, Jeff. Ohtani was betting on baseball, right? I mean, this guy, he let his best friend get hung out to dry. I don't know, did that kid get deported back to Japan? I don't even know what happened. But he claimed to not speak English, Ohtani, and that's why this happened. So if the top player, maybe the most talented player in the history of the game, is betting on baseball, everybody must be betting on baseball. And this is something I don't know how – well, I think they have to make it a more severe thing. Any connection to gambling should be a lifetime ban. Any connection. I mean, we had suspensions about a year ago with some middle reliever guys. Any suspension should be a lifetime for any connection, whether it be your inner circle or you. I don't know what it's going to be, but we don't see this in the NFL. I mean, at least we haven't yet, and I don't think we will. And I don't think we're seeing it in a lot of different sports. But maybe we need to scrutinize the gambling houses a little bit. Maybe greed. Maybe that Wall Street. But maybe he was wrong, Jeff Gordon-Gekko. Greed might not be good in gambling, right? We got to keep things clean, or you lose the legitimacy of the whole situation. I'm not going to go to some gangster's house in South Philly to play, in an illegal casino, which exists, Jeff. You go to somebody's basement, play blackjack, craps, whatever. I know they're cheating me, right? Just like on a cruise ship, I'm not gambling. There's no laws out in the ocean. It's a pirate situation. You could do anything out in the middle of the ocean. So I think baseball's got to get on top of this. This guy, I believe, was making $800,000 a year. Not a huge amount of money, but he probably got a big signing bonus. Maybe he was hurting. I don't know, Jeff. I don't know. And should you be arrested for this is another question. I mean, at the end of the day, this is kind of insider trading. This is something maybe the Fed's got to get involved. It's driving me nuts. Now, let's think about college, Jeff. If these guys are doing it, making millions of dollars, what's a college athlete doing? Right? What's a college football player doing? Well, it keeps me up at night, Jeff. We need to get back to illegal gambling. It was way more credible, Jeff. There was no way a player was calling a bookie in those days. That we had phone records, right? Now, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can have this app. You can have your wife, your girlfriend, your buddy's girlfriend have the app, put these bets in. Tougher to track things, tougher to trace things to the original bettor. I don't know. It's driving me nuts. But having said that, Jeff, we've made a comeback. We had a little bit of a losing streak. We're on, I believe, a 4-game winning streak now. Big win last night from Uvalde, Texas. Big 13-run win, I believe. So it's kind of a title thing, baseball. Aaron Judge talked about this with the Yankees. We're going to have a couple slumps. And baseball gambling is not much different. If it's something you're going to do, it's got to be a systemic kind of dedication to gambling, and you can't look at your daily results, almost like investing in stocks. So we're about 2 games below 500 now, and I think we're back on top of things. But this is a tough time of year. It's muggy. It's hot. This is the most humid. Jeff, I live on an island about a mile out from the mainland, and it's the most humid, hot summer I can remember. We're getting a land breeze, Jeff. We're supposed to be at ocean smells. I'm getting cut grass and pollen. I can barely breathe out here. So I know baseball, it's got to be 120 degrees in those fields. They need the All-Star break. We need a little bit of a reset here. After the All-Star break, you start to have the cream rise to the top. And I'm glad we're hovering around 500 to get to that point. Then we should start steamrolling, Jeff. I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, it's always funny because last week we talked about the 5-game skid that you had and baseball plays, and then you started a little winning streak. And if I go to your Instagram account, which you can follow Pez on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram, at Pez's Picks, and if I look at just the comments, I know if you won the play or not. Because when you win, no one says a damn thing. And if you lose, oh my gosh, the haters are out. What a horrible fading this pick and all this stuff. So I saw 0 comments, like, yep, he must be winning. And so, yes, because I don't really follow the day-to-day for baseball. But, hey, you're on a little bit of a heater. When is the All-Star break? Is that coming up soon?
We should have that in the coming week, right? I believe it's going to be –
It used to always be around the 4th.
I think we're coming up on it, right? So that should be this next week, I would believe. Yeah, right. Jeff, these commenters, what's up with this generation? Fading? That's not a manly word, Jeff. Anybody saying fading and they're typing that to the public, not a manly person, number one. Number two, there's such a sissy thing we have in this world today. The hate, and I saw it with Max Homa this week. who played great, Jeff, in golf last week. People
He
don't know
did.
Max Homa had a little bit of
Yeah.
a meltdown in his kind of golf life. The guy was top 15 in the world. Now he's garbage, and contended for a tournament. Some animal sent him some horrific things about telling him to kill himself in some horrible ways, and Venmoed him a Venmo request for $1,900 because he lost his bet. Max Homa, I don't know if you saw it. He published the messages, and he should. I mean, what kind of
Yeah.
scumbag sits in their house and sends these messages? And when you're gambling, the athletes are trying to win. Well, maybe not. Maybe if they're crooked there. But Max Homa trying to win,
That's true.
to tell someone to do something like that, I don't know, Jeff. It's just not. That's not our generation. That's a sissy thing. In our day, if you went to someone's house and did that, they punch you in the face. You can hide on your phone. Nobody knows who you are. I don't even read the comments, Jeff. I go with Howard Stern and Joe Rogan. Don't read the comments. Stick to what you're doing. And I don't know. My wife reads them, though, Jeff. Anytime she wants to chip at me a little bit, she reads me some comments. I find them a little funny. And occasionally, I think we get some Pez's Picks Nation defenders, and I appreciate those people. I love them.
Well, we're due for another Q&A, and we'll maybe do that for next week. But the funny thing is that you're not telling people that they have to bet their money on your plays. You're just giving your picks. It's like if I was a kid in middle school, and this happened back where I grew up in Wheeling, West Virginia, we'd be talking about an upcoming game like, oh, yeah, I think the Broncos are going to beat the Chiefs. Man, you're crazy. You're not going to beat the Chiefs. You're insane. And that was where we left it. You like the Broncos? I think the Chiefs is going to win. There you go. And people get so pissed about a play that doesn't pan out. You're not guaranteeing victory. You're giving them a good play with a good with a good. Obviously, you mentioned this before. You're looking for plus odds. You're looking for or close to plus odds, I should say, where it's going to be a good bang for your buck. And anyone can go out and just pick the top heavy players every single time and say, "Look at me, I'm on this streak." You're not doing it that way, but I'll tell you what. I think that people need to lighten up a little bit.
Appreciate the support, Jeff. And, as you know, we're coming up on 2 years of doing this, and we have yet to lose people the money. I mean, at the end of the day, if you follow all of our bets, you're up a lot of money, especially in playoffs. I mean, we came in at 80% in the NFL. I believe we're at 70% NBA. And at the end of the day, if you follow our action, you're going to be up. And, that's based on our system, our experience. And I have no doubt that there are people making money. Occasionally we get some DMs, as we're calling them, Jeff, and they thank us. So that's why we're doing it. We're doing it for the people, Jeff, to beat the man. We were in the casinos this past weekend, wife and I, Counting Crows concert at the, I call it the Taj, Jeff. They call it the Hard Rock now. We went over to the Ocean, great Ocean Casino in Atlantic City, one of the nicest places I've ever been. Great sports book. We put in action on the Pittsburgh Steelers, $25 to win the Super Bowl. I believe it's paying over $500. My wife put 40 on it, Jeff. Don't tell our Eagles friends. We do believe the Eagles are going to win, but if not, I think the Steelers have a value shot to do that. And we put a $20 play on the Lakers to win the NBA championship with the injuries and the Achilles fallout. I mean, the league's been decimated. So, Oklahoma City's still there, of course, but the Lakers have made some moves. They picked up a quality center. Luka has gone on some sort of diet, Jeff. He's not eating gluten or something. The guy shed about 20 pounds, I hear. Look for the Lakers, make some big action. LeBron opts in for a $53 million deal. I like how this was a story. Will LeBron take the $53 million? Of course he's taking $53 million. Wait. This is like breaking news. Breaking news, something we need to investigate too, Jeff. It's not breaking news when a player opts in for $53 million, right? And, when we talk about those salaries, LeBron, $53 million. You talk about Gilgeous-Alexander, $70+ million a year. They're not wasting time on prop bets, right? Maybe baseball needs to pay people more. Maybe the owners need to loosen the purse strings a little bit. The more money, the more validity. You're not going to have a guy making $50 million give his buddy a couple prop bets for $10,000 a pitch or something. So maybe that's the cure.
Well, something I wanted to bring up before we talk about any other NFL plays you might have is you said, this isn't happening, meaning the allegations of gambling in the NFL. It actually has, but not in a way that it was this guy might have been doing this in a game. There have been players that have been released immediately from teams, suspended for upwards of 6 to 8 games. Some have been suspended for closer to a full season for placing bets in the facility. So the NFL has very strict rules on being able to place bets. You're never allowed to bet on the NFL, ever. And they're tracking them, their family, all this stuff. But they also, because you can't tell an NFL player you can't place any bets, because if I want to bet on baseball, who's to tell me I can't bet on baseball? You can't do it from the facility. And so if someone placed a couple college football bets, I guess, from the facility, and they got caught and they got busted. But the NFL, they rule with an iron fist, man. They came down on those guys hard. They're sending a message. And yes, they might be some fringe players, some second tier guys, but you know what? They're like, we're going to come down swift and we're going to come down hard so that you all, everyone else that is, don't even think about it. That's what they're saying.
Sure.
So,
And, maybe we really look at this from an adult perspective. Maybe you can bet on things that aren't your sport, right? I mean, an NFL player can go to the casino. Allen Iverson famously lost all of his money down there in Atlantic City. I used to see him there sometimes. Not that I'm saying that's a good thing, but maybe we need to take a look at that. If you're not betting on your own sport, maybe that's okay. And I think maybe the conversation should be a little bit more public. Maybe they need to discuss this with the players a little bit more. And I don't know. It's scaring me, though, Jeff. Baseball, it's crooked. But that's why it's fun. What else are we doing in the summer? We got golf. We got Wimbledon. And at the end of the day, we got America's sport. We got the baseball. Of course it's crooked. It's a great country we live in. Getting ripped off, it's legal, Jeff, right? I tell people that all the time. You can go to a car dealership, get ripped off, not illegal. So maybe this is part of it. Maybe we need to all calm down, like you said, get a little bit more honest in this country. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. Do you have any other NFL plays coming up that you wanted to bring up, or any futures?
We took the Colts over, Jeff, over 7.5 last week. We discussed Jacksonville. Today, Jeff, we're in between putting out a play and no play. The current line is 7.5. I believe we're going to take the under, Jeff. I'm going to look at that one last time before we put it out. Not a big believer in that. By the end of this week, we should be done the AFC. Titans we're looking at, and that's a quagmire. And then once we get into that last division, the AFC West, we should be done. And then we're getting into the fun division, Jeff. We're getting into the Eagles. We're getting into Cowboys, and Dak Prescott running his mouth the last couple of days about how good he is again. So we're closing in. I'm feeling the NFL season coming. I like everything I'm reading about the Steelers, though, Jeff. I think that play we put out is the value total or value Super Bowl play of the year. Plus 4,500 on the Steelers. You had Aaron Rodgers take the whole receiving core out to California, Santa Monica, or some rich guy's area, Jeff.
Yep.
This guy's all in, right? I mean, I don't remember him doing that in New York. I just remember him acting like, he was the general manager, the coach, and the owner in the Jets, and you're not going to do that in Pittsburgh. I love the defensive changes. The more I look at Juno Smith, I love this guy. Touchdown catching guy, I think second in the league last year, only behind, I can't remember who it was, but 8 or 9 touchdowns for him. I think the defense,
He had 8.
8, right? So defensive changes,
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey on that defense. I mean, and then you throw in big play Slay, a guy that we love in Philadelphia. I don't know how you're moving the ball on that team. So if Aaron Rodgers could put up 14 to 21 points, I think they're going to be in every game, and I think we could be looking at a lot more when you put DK, Smith, and I hear rumblings they might pick up another veteran receiver, is the rumors I'm hearing.
Yeah, man, they're all in this year without having to. They're not jeopardizing the future to be all in this year. Everyone famous with the Les Snead of the GM of the Rams when they won the Super Bowl and they beat the Bengals. That was when they had shirts printed out for the parade that said "F them picks" because they traded away all their future picks. The Steelers still have all their picks in the future, so this is going to be interesting. It'll be something worth talking about as the season, and definitely next offseason, in terms of how Omar Khan, the general manager, and Andy Weidel, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles, the assistant GM, are really trying to handle this offseason. It's kind of a Moneyball situation, Pez. I don't know if you like that movie. I do, but it's a really outside-the-box way of thinking about how to handle roster development.
Well, Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt, Jeff, they picked an amazing team using the old data system. I love that movie. And, it's similar to kind of what we do. Whether you get on base from a walk, getting hit by a pitch or a hit, doesn't matter. For the Steelers, I see them copying the Philadelphia Eagles system where they're picking up veterans, like you said, without exhausting a lot of picks. You're investing money. Their defensive and offensive lines have been grown from the draft, which I love. Skill players are a bigger risk than I believe linemen are. If you're fast and big and strong, a good offensive line coach or defensive line coach should make you a little bit of a player. If you're a lottery pick, you're going to be a star. But I love what they did. We know what DK Metcalf's going to do. we know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do, probably. I mean, I think that we know that he's going to have some zip on the ball, and this guy, one of the greatest quarterbacks in the last 25 years, 30 years. So I love what they're doing. Kansas City attempts to do this, but the more Super Bowls you win, it gets harder. Buffalo, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Baltimore's tried this, but I think the guys that they've picked up are a little bit aged out. I could see a decline with them. You know, we're not pumping the Steelers because we got the Steelers flag behind you, Jeff. We're pumping them because it's a good investment. I can't think of a better value play right now. As a former guy taking these calls, I would never give you plus 4,500 on the Steelers right now. They don't care, Jeff. They don't care. It's like Amazon. You want to send something back? Go ahead, send it back. We'll take anything. I don't care if you broke it or not. I feel like that's where sports betting is, and you gotta see these things to kind of find the value advantages, Jeff. That's what we're doing here.
All right. For sure. And so the Steelers, yeah, we talk about the 4,500. Those are good odds. And it's a flyer. You say you put $25 down, you're going to win yourself a decent amount of money if they actually come through. It's going to come down to the quarterback play, and we'll see how that plays out which is really crazy because when this publishes on the 10th of July, we're less than 2 weeks away from every single team being at training camp. By the 23rd of July, all teams will have at least reported to training camp, and that's exciting. That's really exciting. Football is going to be back.
Football is back, Jeff, and thank God. I mean, what have we been doing around here? It's back. Remind everybody, we put a future play in a year before the Eagles won the Super Bowl, $25 future play. My wife did her 40. We went to that Ocean Casino, and they gave us a room that night, Jeff. Now, having said that, I think the rooms are only $50 a night, midweek at the Ocean Casino in February, or March, whenever we collected, but collected about $1,500. So I'm hoping, the luck is with the Sicilian lady I'm married to again, and I love it, Jeff. I love Pittsburgh, Eagles, right. Super Bowl. Lock that up here, Jeff. Lock that up.
All right. If that's the case, we're there, man. Put the FFSN crew on that.
We'll take the CEO's helicopter, sure. Jeff. We'll fly. I don't even know where the game is. The guy will take care of us. He's a generous person.
I don't either. There you go. All right, let's finish up with some talk. The Genesis Scottish Open. By the time this airs, players are going to be on the course because remember, it is overseas. It is in Scotland, and they are going to be teeing off at about 2 a.m. Eastern time. So it's going to be, if you're getting plays in, you definitely need to do so sooner rather than later, or you're going to have to do in-round gambling. This is the run-up to the last major. After this week, we have Royal Portrush hosting the Open Championship, which is the final major of the year. Have you looked at this? What do you think about this upcoming tournament?
Well, as you know, Jeff, links golf, a weather determinant on how, who's going to win and the conditions. I just checked again. It looks like no rain for the entire weekend in warm conditions.
Wow.
Which is going to be a hot course. I think that favors the American players. But I love watching these Scottish and British Opens. These guys will tell you the tide sometimes can cause rain. So at the end of the day, we might see some wet stuff, but I think this is going to favor a Justin Thomas. It's going to favor, of course, Scotty Scheffler. I think this is going to be kind of a U.S. Open light. The rough, if it has been dry there, shouldn't be too crazy. I like Justin Thomas at plus 3,500, Jeff. I know I beat up on that guy a lot, but I like his chances. His game's coming around. Kind of player that wins these type of tournaments. He's got great hands. He's accurate. Colin Morikawa should be in the mix as well, plus 2,500. Another guy's game is coming around, even with all the drama with his caddies. So I like the Americans this week, Jeff.
I'll tell you what play I like. It's funny because we talked about these inobscure, little bets that you can find if you dig into the sports book. I'm taking for no hole-in-one to be made on all 4 days, plus 150.
I saw that.
Plus 150. I'll take it. I was shocked. I was thinking, wow, you're going to get plus odds if you say that there will be a hole-in-one. You're getting plus odds for no hole-in-one. It's been a while since I saw an ace somewhere in the PGA Tour. It's been at least 3 weeks. I'm taking the no at plus 150.
I can't recall a Scottish Open hole-in-one, Jeff. I'm trying to think about it, but
yeah,
not a bad play, right? I mean, I'm guessing the odds on a hole-in-one are very high. I like that. No hole-in-one, I think that's a solid play. It might be the play of the week. That's probably the more accurate play of picking any player. I love that, Jeff. I think we're going to put that out. Pez's Picks will give you a quote, Jeff. I like that play a lot. I like
thanks.
that.
I appreciate it. And then also you could have something like I've been really into the winning margin. Like I've hit 2-shot wins for plus 360. You can get over plus 200 for a 1-shot win. 1-shot wins have been the standard on tour this year. I mean, we've had playoffs, so that still equates to a 1-shot win. It's like plus 210. I'll take the 1-shot margin.
Another playoff this past week and turned out to be a pretty decent tournament. A couple guys kind of crapped the bed at the end there to lose the tournament, but I love you. I love that play, Jeff, and I think we're putting that plus 150 out this morning. We're going to get on that. Probably the most realistic play, because in this Scottish Open and British Open, stuff goes crazy.
You never know. You never know. It's crazy. Yeah, because you could have Scotty Scheffler teeing off in the morning and he plays in nice conditions, cooler, and then Rory goes out in the evening and it's a deluge of rain and wind, and you just have no idea. It's total.
I love it, Jeff. I haven't played over in Scotland or England, but I love it. That's another FFSN corporate retreat we're going to have to work on here. It sounds like a reasonable request to make to the boss, and I'm going to get on that one too. I mean, why not?
Put that in with all your other requests.
Sure. Well, we got to take the jet for that one, but that's fine. We'll drink Corona, not Cristal. That's the Allen Iverson rule, Jeff. That's how you save money on these trips.
All right, Pez, good show. Final thoughts on anything that you want to bring up?
Let's, as you said, Jeff, let's everybody calm down a little bit here. Let's calm down the gambling. Let's just calm down. We're talking about this a lot, KT Smith and I, on our Hot Duel podcast or Hot Rock contest or podcast. Let's cheer the Americans on. If you haven't watched any Wimbledon, been a great tournament. Another sport that I'm going to ask the CEO to kind of get us over to, Jeff. Fantastic venue. It's the Masters of golf, of tennis, and I think we got 2 Americans left. They got a decent shot. I mean, not great, but they got a decent shot with Fritz and Shelton. Shelton, 20-year-old, he's made the quarters, I believe, like 7 times now in majors. So an athletic kid gets a little bit more of a tennis kind of acumen, and we're looking at some majors. I think it's coming soon, Jeff. We need an American tennis revival. Let's get that done.
Let's go back to the days of Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi and the U.S. guys. It's been a while.
Agassi,
for sure.
Amazing.
So, all right, Pez, good show, man. Have a great weekend. We'll talk next week. Take it easy.